Hi, everybody, and welcome to our July 2026 Learning Series webinar. Today's topic is Copilot Agents for Microsoft 365. We were chatting just before we went live today. Backstage, we had a pretty strong registration number for this. I think it was right up there with some of our previous Excel segments. So I think this is definitely a hot topic for folks. This will hopefully give you a good insight into some of the capabilities that Copilot has within the Microsoft 365 tenant and ecosystem. So with that, those notes made, I will bring Jolene here on stage, or Jolene, you can bring yourself on stage. There you go. And nice to see you again as always, and
Hi.
I'll turn the floor over to you.
As Dave said, today we're going to be talking about Copilot Agents for Microsoft 365. Automating workflow and driving productivity. So today we're going to explore one of the most exciting developments in the Microsoft AI ecosystem, the Copilot agents. So I know a lot of people are familiar with the Copilot chat, where we ask questions, we summarize documents and draft our content. But the real wow of what happens next, instead of asking Copilot one question at a time, you can turn a repeatable business need into a useful agent that actually follows our instructions. It uses trusted knowledge and it works towards what our goals are. So it's not just chatting with the system, it's actually building communication. So the goal is to reduce repetitive work and to really help people get to the next right action faster. So by the end of the session today, you'll have a better understanding as to what Copilot agents are, why trusted knowledge matters, how agents support workflow automation and productivity, how to identify good agent opportunities, and how to use Copilot to create, test, and refine your agents. Because when you build an agent, it isn't a one and done. You most likely go back and want to do some tweaking, so to say, to those agents. So first off, what exactly is an agent? It's a lot more than an actual chatbot. A useful agent combines really three things: instructions, knowledge, and actions. So the instructions really describe what you want the agent to do and where its boundaries are. Knowledge is the trusted information it should use, and the actions are the tasks it may actually help start. So for example, an agent might answer PTO questions using approved HR policies drawn from your HR policy document library and help draft a leave request for your review. When you design an agent, everything comes back to these three pieces. So as we are going through our demonstrations today, always keep in mind we have instructions, knowledge, and actions. So it's kind of a three-piece to that. You're going to hear some terms that have been very regularly used lately. I've seen these over the past probably about really relevant over the past couple of weeks, but kind of over the past month. Microsoft is making huge changes right now to Copilot, and you're going to see that from Friday to Monday. Copilot changed. And we won't get into a lot of those new changes today because we really want to focus on what an agent is and how it's going to help you to do your work better. But there's a couple of terms that I wanted to describe for you today. We can get into more and more of that as we do other sessions, but the first one is RAG. It simply means the agent retrieves approved information first, then it generates an answer from that information. That is what helps really reducing the guessing. So for example, if you ask a travel policy agent, so if we built a travel policy agent to assist us, we could ask it whether you can expense airport parking. A generic AI may guess at the answer, but the agent actually retrieves your information's travel policy guide first. It's not just going to guess, it's going to actually look at a document to confirm what needs to happen. Now, if we look at how large requests get coordinated, an orchestrator is like an intelligent traffic controller, is how I always think of it. Or if you think of it, if you go to an orchestra, I can't talk today. Go to an orchestra, I can't say that word today, I'll leave it out. So if you go to a music event and you have a conductor, think of this like that with a larger agent name. It's going to route parts of the request to the right specialized agent or process. A sub-agent is a more focused agent responsible for a specific area, such as HR, IT, finance, or learning, each of its own knowledge and its own boundaries. So if someone asks, I need a new laptop and training for my role, this orchestrator routes the equipment part to the IT agent and the learning part to the learning agent. So we can have a main agent that basically feeds from other agents. That's a whole nother day to get into a lot of that, but since these are terms that are being used quite often, I just wanted to bring those up front and talk a little bit more about what they actually are. So let's go through some demonstrations as to how we could actually use an agent and how to build an agent. Because you want to actually be able to see, well, okay, great, you showed me what an agent is, but how do I make one? So we'll definitely walk through the steps to do that. So right now I have my Copilot open. So basic, go to office.com or m365.cloud.microsoft. I have mine saved as a favorite, so it's quick and easy for me to get to, and it's one of the first applications I open every day because I'm in it all day long. You're going to see some changes on the user interface. If you haven't gotten the updates just yet, know that they are coming. Some things were in a pre-release state. They were in a frontier, is what Microsoft calls it. Not everything is fully active just yet. And I'm mainly referring to the top left where it says chat and cowork. I'll talk a little bit about cowork at the end, but right now I'm just going to talk about being in a Copilot chat. So when it comes to Microsoft Copilot, it started as an assistant inside familiar apps, helping people to do that summarization, the drafting, the analysis, or find information. But the next evolution is purpose-driven agents that really focus on specific tasks, specific departments, and workflows. So if I wanted Copilot to really kind of just to demonstrate, to summarize my last 3 meetings, I can simply do that by putting that in the chat window. So I could say, summarize my last 3 meetings. It's going to go out to my 365 account. It can't go beyond what your rights are. And it's going to find that information based on looking at your Microsoft account, which at the top left is what that Work IQ is doing. So imagine turning this into a dedicated meeting prep agent that always prepares executive managers or account teams for upcoming meetings by summarizing the recent meetings, open action items, related files, and possible discussion points. This is the shift we want you to see. Because from asking for help once in Copilot to actually designing help that can be reused. So you can see that it automatically came back. I found over 100 meetings in your Microsoft 365 data. The 3 most recent past meetings, I didn't say upcoming, I said past, so it went back. It shows what they were. So it's showing those, and then it's got key takeaways at the bottom. That's how Copilot works. It has that intelligence to do that. But the issue with that is it's great information. But what if I want that information on a regular basis? Or I want to say my past 5 meetings or my upcoming next 3 meetings, etc., etc. That's where agents can come in. So I want you to be thinking about an agent as a true assistant. I've always called Copilot an assistant, and then agents are an assistant to Copilot, but they have now become like a real, I think of them as a real person. And sometimes I want to say thanks. Just kind of, having that conversation with them and say thanks. So kind of strange that I think of it that way, but that's what I'm getting to at this point with my relationship with my agents these days. So let's say that we want a Copilot agent to be more than this chatbot. Really, a useful agent is going to combine those 3 things: the instructions, the knowledge, and the actions. So when we design an agent, I want you to think through those 3 things. What do you want it to do? What trusted information it should use, and what actions it may help start, like the example I just gave it. It's helping start that action. But I could tweak it as I go. I could say, instead of past 3, which could be built into the agent that I can keep reusing, I could replace the 3 with 5, or I could replace the past with future. Those kind of things can lightly be tweaked, but we have the main component of what we want to repeat on a regular basis. And that's where agents help us with our productivity. Talk about time savings. It's unbelievable how these can work. So we really want to be thinking about what an agent should do, like answer PTO questions using approved HR policies. The knowledge part, what information should it use? The SharePoint HR policies document library. And then the actions part of it would be, what can it help initiate? It could draft a leave request, just to give you an example. Okay, so notice the 3 major design areas. Everything we designed today comes back in these 3 pieces: that instructions, the knowledge, the actions. So as we kind of think about building these agents, those are the 3 components that we really want to think about. Okay. So RAG, as I was mentioning, simply meaning the agent retrieves approved information first, then it generates an answer from that information. That is what happens to help reduce that guessing. Okay, like the example of, can I expense airport parking? That generic AI, as I said, would do more of a guess. A Copilot agent would do what we built in to the agent itself to say, here's where I want you to go. This is what I want you to do. And then we talked about the orchestrators and the sub agents a little bit, so I won't repeat that information. But if you needed a new laptop and training based on your role, that orchestrator would go out and route the pieces to the appropriate area. So as I'm describing these, think about what it is you do during your day, whether it's daily, every couple of days, once a week. What kind of ways could an agent help you get more automated, help you be more productive, get you quicker and easier answers to what it is you need to do? So agents become most valuable when they help move work forward, not just answer the questions that we have. Workflow automation does not always mean full automation. In Microsoft 365, it often means helping gather information, draft, which is a key word with Copilot, draft the next step, route the request, and keep a human in control. So we're going to go through an example of really kind of how we can create an agent to help us do things like gather the information, validate the requirements, identify the process, draft the request, and initiate the workflow when it's configured. So the important part is that the agent prepares, it routes, it drafts, or initiates the request when configured to do so. Human review remains a huge part of this process before anything is submitted, approved, purchased, or changed. We need to make sure that we have that human interaction, because remember, draft. Everything is a draft, even if we're using an agent. Okay, so in each quick demo, I'm not trying to build the whole agent just yet. I'm going to show how to spot an agent opportunity. Okay, so like this example of looking for my past 3 events I had. So before building the agent, we'll quickly define the problem, the knowledge, the audience, the action, the output, the boundaries. So these are the questions we answer before we ask Copilot to actually draft an agent. So the purpose of the agent itself. So what problem will this agent help us to solve? We need to build in the knowledge. So where does information actually come from? If it's just coming from your general 365 and not a specific location, we need to tell it that. Who's the audience? So who's going to use this agent? So we need to tell it also what are the actions. So basically, what should the agent do? Also, we need to give it the output. So when we use this agent to have repetitive instructions on what it does, what do we want it to generate? And the boundaries, what should it not do? So these are pieces to the puzzle that we put together to build an agent that's going to be our true assistant. So I know not all of us have an assistant that we can go to and say, hey, can you do this for me? Here's the instructions of what I want you to do. That's basically what we are doing with the agent. But we're not replacing a human. We can't because this is AI. AI is not replacing them. It's just helping them to do their job better, more efficiently, be more productive, not have to waste time. So remember before we had the microwave and we actually had to manually do everything, and then we got this great system, this microwave, and now we don't feel like that's fast enough. This is kind of that building piece. We aren't taking away the person needs to put the food on the stove or put the food in the microwave. Same thing with a Copilot and with an agent, AI in general. We're not taking out the human side, and we're not going to. I know a lot of people are always afraid of that. But let's actually see some examples of how an agent could actually be used for things that you do on a very regular basis. So I'm going to do another example for you of things that I do regularly that drove me crazy every day, because I was going in once or twice a day and putting in these prompts into Copilot. Like, are there any emails that should be on my radar? I do that a couple of times a day because it's hard for me to scan through everything and get it prioritized myself. It was time consuming. Now I do it all the time directly in Copilot. So what if I had that I wanted to repeat every day? And I wanted to be able to do it in the morning, and I want to be able to do it in the afternoon. I don't want to have to retype it or remember, what did I say to it last time? What did I ask last time? How did I word it because it came out so good? You can have these built as an agent. Also, what if I wanted to be looking at, because I was gone. I was gone for a couple of days over the holiday, and I need to know what emails, posts, chats, events, etc. should be on my radar for the next 2 days. What if that's something that I'm constantly asking Copilot to provide to me? That could be built into an agent. Think about an agent that you can have these regular things that you need to know without you having to go explore different parts of your system. different parts of 365. I have to go to Outlook to do this. I have to go to Teams to do this. I have to go to my SharePoint document library to look up what files was I working on over the last couple of days so that I can pick up where I left off, that kind of a thing. Think about these time-consuming things that we do, and think about how an agent could help you instead. So anyway, just so you could see what it came back with, this is all the information that it came back with. Highest priority, of course, is this webinar today. I'm doing some testing of some HTML emails. I have some items that I need to follow up on. It's prioritizing things for me as well. So you can see that this took like seconds to do. If I had to manually go out and do that, and I want to do this a couple of times a day or once a day even, how an agent can actually do all this for us. So let me actually show you an example of an existing agent before I walk you through how to create your own agents. So I have an agent on my left-hand side. So this is my agents category. I'll click on this icon up at the top here called Agents in a second. But these are my agents that I already have pinned so I can quickly and easily get to them. I have this one called Daily Email and Agenda Assistant. If I click on that name of that agent, it automatically takes me into a chat window with my suggested prompts available. So that's where we piece together what should be on my radar. What are my last 3 meetings, and give me all the meeting notes, etc. What all files are related to that? What are my next action items? All of that can be built into an agent with separate suggested prompts. So down at the bottom, you can see that I have these 3 that you can see. I have this daily insight. What emails need responding to? What meetings do I have today? I also have unresponded emails. Which emails have I not replied to yet? Upcoming events. What events do I have tomorrow? If I click on the show more, I have other prompt suggestions built in. These are things I've created to go along with my daily email and agenda assistant. That is an agent. So I have outstanding tasks. I have show today's agenda, chats and channels. But what if I click on one of these, like Daily Insight? What that basically does is put that text that I would have to manually type in, it types it in for me. All I have to do is click my send button and it automatically goes out and gets that information. Now, if I want to do this again later on today, it's already here. All I do is go to the agent, click on the prompt that I want, and it starts my response immediately. Now, of course, if I have one, so you could see meetings today, etc., emails, tasks, prioritize, focus on today. I build the agent with the prompt to be exactly what I want for my result. What do I want my action to be at the end? So I'll show you how you structure to build these. So anyway, just so you can see, this is what I got back out of it. Now, if I wanted to do a different example, I could go back to the agent again, and maybe I wanted to know upcoming events. So it says, what events do I have tomorrow? Well, what if I don't want tomorrow? I don't have to start a brand new chat. I can still use this and say, what events do I have for the next 2 weeks? Oops, I can't type. 2 weeks. It doesn't have to be, I don't have to have 10 prompts and one is daily, one is for the next 2 days, etc. We can just tweak on the fly, but we have the structure of the prompt that we want it to use. How many times, just think about this for a second, how many times have you gone and reused the same prompt over and over and over again? I am so guilty of that. And then, one day I type it in one way, the next day I type it in a different way, and I really liked the other way better. And then I have to go back and search through my chat history to find, how did I say that before? I want to say that the same way again. I would spend so much time doing that when agents came out, I was one of the most excited people in the world. Well, probably not, but I was beyond excitement to be able to click on a button and have it automatically give me all of this whenever I needed it. But think about, these are all related to this name of this agent. These prompts are all related to this agent because you can have different agents for different actions. Different agents for different actions. And the best part is agents can be shared. It's not just for you. They could be shared with others. So there can be corporate-wide agents that are built and distributed across for all employees to use. There can be agents per department, per job duties, whatever the case might be. Just think about all the different areas of your organization and how these agents can help in different ways. We tell the agent how we want the answer structured. What formatting should it use? Because we want it to be easy to read. And we might want it to be in a table with these columns. We might want it to include images or hyperlinks or whatever. All of that gets built into the agent. We don't have to keep going back and saying, do this, do this, do this. It's all in one. So less work, less headaches, less having to remember because we're busy. We want to click a button. So anyway, just so you could see what it came back with. So love the way that this works. So I won't go into any more examples, but as you can see on the left-hand side, I have several agents that I actually use. I do have this one called Daily. I have an accounting department search as well. And just to show you a couple of others, I'm going to take you into a different window here real quick. I just want to show you a different account that I have in another agent. I have this Your Day Ahead. I also have this one called Mailbox Delegate. Mailbox Delegate is because if you are a delegate of multiple people's mailboxes, the thing about Copilot and agents is it only works with the account you're logged in as. So it only has the permissions to go to that account that you're logged in as. It can't go to other accounts. So I like that because of the security. It can't go to a document library that you don't have rights to based on the account you're logged into. So I created this for a group of executive assistants so that they could actually then have these suggested prompts of summarize the last 24 hours based on the account I'm logged in as, show urgent actions, top 5 priority emails, group by topic, focus on vendor issues, create action checklists. So just to give you another perspective as to how these can be used. I could go on all day and talk about ways that different departments and stuff can be using agents. But you know what? Easy way to find out, ask Copilot. Tell Copilot what it is that you do. It can help you to get ideas on what agents might be helpful based on your role. Also, Copilot can help you build the agent. And that's what I'm going to do next is walk you through how do you build an agent. Then we're going to and my process, this is me personally, my process is I plan first, then I build, then I test. After I know the testing is good, I go back and tweak if something doesn't come out the way I want it to. I get it right, then I share it. If it's going to be a shared agent. Some agents are just going to be for yourself, but other agents could be shared, as I mentioned already. So what we're going to do is on the left-hand side, if you go to agents, when you click on agents, it takes you to the agent store. If an agent has been distributed through your organization and you don't see it pinned on the left-hand side, you could search for the agent if you know the agent name. You could see I have this category called your agents, which are my agents. So these are all the agents that I currently am using. And yes, there are a lot. Some of these are not available to the public just yet, like if it says Frontier. There's some new things coming out, but just so you're aware. Then there's agents that are available to you as a user that Microsoft has created and or approved that will be under the Built by Microsoft. There's also a category called Built by Your Organization. So if there's distribution of agents that are built by IT that everybody has access to, they can be in that category. Shared by you, agents for your team, featured agents, etc., etc. All these different categories to make it easier to find an agent that you could start using today. If you've never used an agent, there's two I would highly recommend. One's called Researcher and one's called Analyst. These are available to all users. And by the way, a lot of these are license-based. So you can't build an agent if you're using a free version of Copilot. It is a licensed version, just so you're aware. But what I'm going to do is on the top right, I'm going to click Create Agent. So what's going to happen, and this has been redesigned, but basically it takes you into a chat window. So you can see that it says build your own agent, specialist agent. And if you wanted to, you could use a template to start building it. So you can see that it shows templates and then my agents. So if I wanted to go in there, I could. Otherwise, basically, Message Agent Builder is where you could physically type what it is that you want your agent to do, and Copilot can create it for you. Yes, Copilot can create it for you. Now, I'm just going to really, for this demo, we're going to build an agent by asking Copilot to create the first draft for us instead of manually filling in every field from scratch. You'll see the fields here in just a moment as to what I'm referring to. So the scenario is a daily priorities agent for managers who need help reviewing meetings, emails, Teams messages, so they can identify the top follow-up items for the day. So really this demo shows productivity promises of how an agent works. Instead of manually checking meetings, emails, Teams messages, etc., the agent helps organize the work into a more focused, prioritized list with suggested next steps. Okay, so basically, I'm going to go into the new Copilot agent like I have here. I'm going to just copy and paste because, to be honest, when I plan an agent, I'm writing it out. Either I'm having Copilot help me write it out or I'm writing it out myself. So let me show you. I'll piece this together for you so you can see exactly what am I putting in here. So I wanted to create a Microsoft 365 Copilot agent called Daily Priorities Agent. The purpose of the agent is to help managers identify the most important follow-up items for the day by reviewing relevant meetings, emails, Teams chats, and files the user has permissions to access. The agent should summarize the top 5 priorities, explain why each item matters, identify the source or content when possible, and suggest a practical next step for each priority. The agent should use a professional, concise, action-oriented tone. It should not automatically create tasks, send emails, schedule meetings, make decisions for the user, or approve anything. If information is missing or unclear, the agent should ask for a clarifying question or say that it cannot determine the answer from available information. This is a great way to get started on creating a new agent. Kind of piece things together. And this is where Copilot can actually help you write this as well. Now I'm going to click send. It's going to automatically start piecing together the different sections of how an agent is built. It takes what I gave it, puts it in the name, puts it in the instructions, etc., and starts to build it. It has not done everything that may be needed, but we can fill in those blanks as we go. So you can see that basically I have a split screen. On the left-hand side is what I put in the agent builder to chat. I chatted with the agent builder and said, this is what I want you to do. It actually, on the right-hand side, you can see that in the agent builder, it says agent has been created and saved, the name of it, the description, the capabilities. So it's showing you the breakdown of what it took and how it pieced it together. If you would like, you can add conversation starters or specific URLs for grounding knowledge, such as a SharePoint site, OneDrive file, or a public web sources. So read through what it tells you because that helps you build it. When you're ready, use the create button to finalize your agent and share it with others. So it gives you help along the way. So if I wanted to add conversation starters, I could click on that, include specific SharePoint or OneDrive URLs, finalize the SharePoint agent. It could help me do all those just by clicking on these suggestions. Or you could simply type at the bottom to have Copilot finish building it. But I'm not going to have you do that because we need to understand what did it do and how would you manually create this agent. On the right-hand side, you could see at the very top, I'm on configure. We'll do preview here in a minute. But when you look at it, on the top, you see an icon. If you want to use, and this is the generic icon it uses, if you want a different icon, click on the pencil. You can then generate an image, browse your images, upload an image. You could describe the image you want, and I want it to be a daily prioritized priorities task icon. I'll just give it a description like that, and it can generate one for you. But if you already have an icon that you want to use, you can upload it. So if you have a company icon, a logo, or anything like that, you could do that. Now, I didn't tell it what colors or anything to use. I could have. But just so you know, Browse is going to let you choose from other ones that Microsoft has created. I like generating my own so they're unique. I like having a different icon for every agent so you can see them easier in the list. Okay, but anyway, it came back with this icon and I like it. It's exactly what I described. I didn't tell it colors, but I like it. It stands out nicely. So once it's done generating, I'm going to click apply and it will use that icon instead. There it goes. So there it is. I'm going to click apply. So now you can see that icon is going to be used. If I wanted to edit the name, I could go to the pencil. When you click on that, you can now edit. So if I wanted to go anywhere and edit the description and or the name, you can do that. But it automatically took what I had typed in and it automatically created a description of the agent. You always need to have a description. But the second part is a very important piece to the puzzle to build an agent. So this is the top part. Then in the middle is going to be the instructions. It has an I for information. You can click on to get more information about these instructions, but you can see that it took what we gave it for instructions and it automatically put it into what is the purpose. Then it has general guidelines. So the purpose is the agent assists the managers in identifying the top 5 follow-up priorities, etc. Then it has those instructions, it has the skills, it has the step-by-step workflow, it has the interaction example. So it's got all of this detail, a lot more than what we typed in. It created this for us because it needs to have this information. It needs to understand feedback and iteration because if we ask it something and it doesn't understand, what do we need for feedback from the agent? So all of that was put together. It's even got the closing. Always provide clear, actionable summary and next steps. Then if I scroll down, here's the knowledge area where we can choose the source your agent will use to generate responses. So when we were talking about, I need this software and I need training. it would know to go to this physical location to look for how to request that software. Or if I'm in HR and I need to change my W-2, it knows to go to the SharePoint document library that contains the form for the W-2. That's what this all means. We could enter the URL or drop a file that we need it to look at. So I could put in files, I could put in sites, I could put in whatever information. If mine is a SharePoint document library, I open the library, copy the URL, and paste it. Makes it super easy that way. Otherwise, by default, it is going to look at the user's Microsoft account. So it's looking at SharePoint, all of your SharePoint, all of your OneDrive. It's looking at your Microsoft Teams, every team you have, all the chats, etc. It's looking at your Outlook emails. It's going to do that by default. The only things you have to enter is, do you have a specific website you want it to reference? Do you have a specific document library? That kind of a thing. You would need to add that in, but otherwise by default, it's looking at everything. Then down at the bottom is where the suggested prompts get created. So what do you want to show up for the suggested prompts that we click on? The rest of it is built by the Copilot agent. It was built by us describing it, but we didn't tell it to put in any prompts. We can tell it to do that, or we can manually create them ourselves. So a couple of suggestions that we could put in here just to kind of think about, what might we do? Maybe we want those top 5 priorities for today. I'm going to put in the title of top 5. And then in the message, I'm going to actually put in, what are my top 5 follow-up priorities today? Then let me do another one. What follow-ups did I commit to in a recent meeting? Maybe that's something we want. So maybe top 5 meetings, whatever you want to name them that is relevant. So maybe I should say recent meetings. And then in the message, I put in what I want it to actually have for the actual prompt itself. What follow-ups did I commit to in a recent meeting? So you always put in the title, then you put in what your suggested prompt is. I'm going to do just one more for right now. I'll show you how you can come back and edit. I'm going to put in the message as being, give me a 5-item priority list and suggested next steps. So I'm going to say list and next steps. I'll put that as the name of it. So but let me go to the top right and I'm going to click create. So it's not sharing it with anybody. It's still just you that has access to this. It's going to create it so that you can start testing it, taking a look at it to see if this is, what you need. Dave, did we have a question related to this?
Actually, I wanted to break in for a second because your video froze for a second about 20 seconds ago. And I wanted to make sure that the context was full for everybody who is trying to follow along.
Okay, so I went to the top right and I clicked create. It created the agent, and this is the window that came up after I clicked create. Your agent was successful. I'm going to click go to agent so you can actually see the agent live. So this is it. It has the icon, it has the name, it was created by myself. I have a typical chat, but here's my only 3 suggested prompts that I put in it so far. Of course, like I said, we can always go back and add to it, etc. So if I want to use any of these, I click on it, the suggested prompt, I click the send button and it automatically goes out and looks for the information. Now think about this, when you build an agent, what do you want it to do? How do you want it to respond? That's how you want to build it, so that it's giving you the relevant information in the format that makes it easy to read. So that's why I like having Copilot help me write the agent. I just tell Copilot, I need a new agent that can help me do this, 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 and this. And Copilot can help you write it so that it's structured correctly within the agent when you build it. What are some suggested prompts I could have, blah, blah, blah. Copilot can help you actually build all that. You put your own spin to it, but Copilot can help. So anyway, just so you could see that it came back with my top 5 follow-up priorities for today. So here's all my top 5 priorities and a quick summary of your day. I love this. These are things I use every day, multiple times throughout the day, because of course your day changes. So anyway, just so you can see how that helps. Now you do get suggested timeframes or suggested prompts to continue that conversation if you wanted to use those. But what if you wanted to go back and you want to actually make changes to this agent? I don't see the agent right now on my left-hand side because I didn't pin it. I'll show you that here in a second. But I'm going to go to Agents again. And then under My Agents, I'm going to click on that More so I can see all of them. Or if I just wanted to simply search for an agent, I could do that as well. So this particular agent, once again, was actually called Daily Priority. So I'm going to start typing daily so that it comes up. Here's my agent. So I'm going to click on that. It takes me into this window. In this window, I have details about the agent, the permission levels, etc. If I want to open it, I can click open. Otherwise, I have a copy link that if I wanted to share it, I could. But I'm going to go ahead and click open. So it opens that agent for me again. So just so you could see, I can get back into the agent very quickly and very easily from there. When you have an agent open, I don't know why mine's not doing this right at the moment. It's not showing it on my left-hand side, but when it normally does, you would be able to go to the menu. So I'll just go to this one called Daily Agent. And when you are hesitating, you get your More menu. You can see a push pin. Click the pin to pin it so it stays there, or click on the More so that you could get information about it, you could share it, you can edit, or if you wanted to uninstall it, you can do that as well. I'm going to choose Edit. Just so you can see, it takes you back into the window where we can reconfigure whatever we need to modify. So if I want to change the icon, change the name, change the description, change the instructions or add to the instructions, or if I have different knowledge bases that I need to add in, you can have as many as you need. And underneath the suggested prompts, you can add as many as you need. Tweak the ones you already have. So if I come down to the very bottom for my suggested prompts and we decided, hey, we should add another one or change one, all you do is click Add Suggested Prompts. It gives you a new placeholder. You type in the title of it, and then you put in the message that you want it to do. Now, keep in mind, though, keep things kind of generic. You can have fill in the blank type things. Let me give you an example. Look for... No, I'm going to say On My Radar. I'm going to name it On My Radar. And then in the message, I want it to look for emails, tasks, events, posts, channels that should be on my radar. Now, I'm not even going to put in a time frame as to how many days on my radar. I'm just going to leave it generic. I'm going to go to the top right and click Update. So anytime you make changes and you want to keep it, you need to go up to the top right and click Update. So it's going to update your agent with the changes you had just given it. Now, once again, if I wanted to copy a link and paste it into an email, share it with somebody, you most certainly could. I'm just going to click Go to Agent for right now. So I can open the agent itself. You're going to see I'm in the name of my agent. I have my suggested prompts. I'm going to click refresh here real quick. It's not updating very quickly here. I click refresh because anytime that you make a change, sometimes I have to refresh it. Okay, now it showed up. It was a little slow, sorry about that. But down at the bottom right, I now have show more. Because I had more than 3, it only shows 3 on the window. So now I see my On My Radar. Once I click that, look for emails, tasks, events, posts, channels that should be on my radar over the next 2 days. I can just fill that in. It can be different every time I go to use it. But I got to tell you, I personally I have probably 4 that I use regularly. I have some that are only weekly, but I have some I use daily, multiple times throughout the day. I have some I use every couple of days, and then I have some that I actually use once a week. It is saving me so much time by having these agents created. So just to kind of wrap up what we've done here today. So we started talking really about, what exactly was an agent. We talked about a few other terms. So if you remember only 3 things from today's session, remember these. First, successful agents start with a business problem, not technology. Second is trusted knowledge is what makes agents valuable. Third, the best first agent is usually a focused agent that solves one real problem well. So start small. Build with whatever it is that you think of that you do regularly. You'll also hear more about Copilot Cowork. That's a main term that people are talking about now, but like I said, and I was showing at the top left, you could see that new icon you can click on for Cowork. May not be available to everybody just yet. It's still kind of in the process of being distributed, but it's AI that helps carry work forward through your 365 account. Instead of only answering one question at a time, agents and Cowork can actually work together to really reduce this manual coordination while still keeping people in control of what's going on. So by the end of the day, look for one workflow that you use frequently and try that in an agent. And then watch for Cowork to come to a screen near you soon. Okay, so Dave, I'm going to send it back to you.
Excellent. We'll come back on screen to join you. So we did have a couple questions in the Q&A, and you touched on the answer to the first one because you did have a little bit of a discussion about licensing, but the question Justine wanted to have answered was, do you need Copilot Premium to access what is covered in this training?
Yes.
Yeah, and as I mentioned at the outset, and you just kind of touched on again with the rollout of Copilot Cowork, Microsoft is flying the plane while it's still being built and has been for 2 or 3 years now. So the rules are constantly evolving. Or actually, a better analogy is, I used to like to use this one sometimes, right? We're driving from New York to Los Angeles, and somewhere in Kansas City, all of a sudden we've got access to cruise control. We didn't have cruise control before, but look at what just showed up. That's kind of what's going on with this. So and I also gave the commercial at the outset for our Demystifying Microsoft podcast. This is, if you want to be informed, you have to stay up to date, and because it changes constantly, that's a great resource to do so. Or as I offered in the chat, if you have specific questions about your environment and your licensing agreement, talk to your client success manager. That's what they're there to do, is help you in help bring to you the current state of affairs, as opposed to the license agreement that if you've been in your license agreement for 3 years and you haven't done a review, it might be time to have that discussion. So especially if you want to leverage some of these features. Joshua also asked a question about 10 minutes ago saying suggested prompts are not showing up after creation. I read somewhere that this is a common bug with the Teams Windows app Copilot tab. However, when I access the browser version, the prompts are shown under Message Copilot input box. Is this something you're aware of? Any workaround?
Yes, I am aware of this, and yes, that is so true. I go straight to the internet browser to use Copilot when I create them, and you already just noticed mine didn't show up right away. I had to click refresh. It does take a moment. It depends on a lot of different scenarios behind the scenes, but I just click refresh. I click refresh and I'm impatient. totally impatient. So I expect things to be there immediately. It does take a moment for it to build. And if you go back into Teams, refresh that window, and if you're in Copilot there, it should show up, just so you know. It's a little slow. They're
Very
working
good.
on it, though.
Yep.
According to Microsoft, they're working on it.
And I wanted to go back. Mike just kind of responded to the thread about the Copilot Premium Access. Wanted to know how much premium costs per person. I'm going to give you an answer I first learned 27 years ago. It was in 1999 when I was at a Novell training. Tells you how long ago it was by saying Novell, right? And they said there's one answer to every technology question ever asked, and that's that it depends, because it always does on something. In this particular case, Mike, the pricing of how to add premium to your agreement is completely contingent upon your underlying 365 subscription. So in some cases, you need a particular SKU. In other cases, it's a reduced SKU. In some cases, you can upgrade to get it for a reduced price. This is why the advice to talk to your client success manager about the most cost-effective way to do it for your environment might be different than anybody else's on the call. So, and that's what we're here to help you with. Feel free to ask the question of your client success manager, and they can make sure we point you in the right direction. So, with that said, I just wanted to remind everybody that, whoops, there we go. I wanted to ask for your feedback. You'll receive the survey via email. And if you ever have follow-up questions on these sessions, send a note to events@sourcepass.com. That actually comes to our entire marketing team, and one of us will be happy to point you in a direction and help answer your questions specifically. So, Jolene, great job as always. Phenomenal overview, and it was in-depth and barely touched the surface at the same time. So, we were talking before, there are some additional AI tools sessions that we might be looking at offering in the near future. So if this is a subject that is of interest of you, make sure you make the notes in those surveys, and we'll take that into consideration as we plan the calendar. So thanks, Jolene. Thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great rest of your July.